That's really good.
That is good.
That's delicious, even. This is games over coffee.
We were talking about this game,
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, while drinking our amazing coffee.
Yep. We both recently finished playing this game to completion, beginning to end.
Yeah, I just completed it
hours ago. So we're here to have a discussion about it, drink some coffee.
Yes, sir.
Have a good time.
What kind of coffee you have?
I have right here a caramel latte.
Caramel latte.
Very simple.
How's that?
Pretty good. I like it.
Yeah. Is this the first time you've had caramel latte?
First time I had a caramel latte. I like vanilla latte better.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Gotta be honest.
I have a cafe au lait with medium roast. That's good stuff.
Okay. So we've got the coffee talk out of the way.
We did. Now it's on to the games.
The good stuff. What did you think of Death Stranding?
In a word, it's amazing.
It's amazing?
Yeah. I want to call this game a masterpiece, honestly.
Yeah.
It's everything that I want a AAA game to be. When I talk about indie games a lot, this has a lot of the qualities that I wish AAA games had of the indie games. And so that really blew my mind.
Yeah, it is like an indie game on a massive budget.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. And if you think about it, it almost is an indie game because
it's
Kojima Productions is an independent studio.
Dude, his name was all over the credits.
Yeah.
It was everywhere.
Yeah, he did everything in this game, single-handedly, no help.
Yeah, no help.
No help.
What did you think of the game?
I loved it. I completely agree. I think this game is a masterpiece, honestly. And my expectations for it were really, really high. So
mine too.
Yeah, I was pretty worried because I'd been following this game since the very beginning, since PT. I've been waiting for that next Kojima game.
A Norman Reedus.
A Norman Reedus, Kojima, Guillermo del Toro video game. So I've been following this for a long time, and this game was everything I could have hoped it to be, pretty much. This game was made, it was made for me. That's what I felt like. I was like, this is made exactly for my taste.
So elaborate. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is, personally, I'm the kind of gamer who likes, I like single player experiences.
Yeah.
And I like avoiding conflict in video games. And this game allows you to avoid conflict completely if you want to.
If you want to, yeah.
And so I felt like it was catering towards me in that regard.
Nice. Where
I didn't have to get into combat situations if I didn't want to.
Right.
But there was still that tension there that you might have to cross through a mule camp or something like that.
Yeah.
And there was always that. But then avoiding conflict, what you're left with is the traversal, which is extremely satisfying.
Oh, it's very detailed.
Very detailed. Yeah. I think this is the thought I kept having was, so in Zelda games, in 3D Zelda games, I love the time you spend in between dungeons, where you're doing these quests for people and solving overworld puzzles.
And this is just...
That's all that. The game is all the in-between dungeons of Zelda.
That's funny.
So it was perfect for me.
So I don't feel like the game was perfect for me. It's not my taste, really. It kind of is. The reason why I say it's a masterpiece is because I love pretty much everything about this game. There's like 99.99% of it is just really, really good. I don't like interacting with some of the elements in this game as much as I'd like interacting with other games.
Sure.
So like the games that I really enjoy are ones that are like almost arcadey games, quick and easy games. Not quick and easy, but quick games.
Right.
Fighters, arcades, FPS games. Something that I can get into, like you said, have a satisfying experience. it's mechanically, it's really interesting to me. On the flip side, I really like indie games a lot because they have usually a gimmick of some sort that they play off of. And so some of my favorite indie games include like Gone Home, where the gimmick is that you just walk around and you just lift up stuff and look at it. Like those interactions are really interesting to me. Now, if you take all of those kinds of interactions, say the more indie ones, and put them into a full-fledged, big, fat game, that's what this is.
Right.
And this has so many of those little mechanics that it's overwhelming to me.
Okay.
And it's very stressful for me to play. There's times in here where I would play for an hour and then get up and I have pain in my body, and it's because I've been stiffening my neck and like leaning really close and like gripping the controller hard and everything, and I don't realize these things are happening. It's because everything in this game is geared toward
a lot of focus.
It's a lot of focus.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So I tend to put a lot of focus into these things. I'm goal oriented a lot when it comes to games, and so when you have a lot of different things to pay attention to in order to get to your goal, then that gets me a little torn. And mechanically, I didn't have a lot of fun playing the game, and it was really stressful for me trying to get into it.
Yeah.
But having the experience was awesome. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand about games, is that like any other medium, you can go into it and not have a fun. You can have a fulfilling experience without having fun.
Right. Video games do not have to be fun to be good.
Right. It's like you don't have to laugh at a movie for it to be good.
Right.
Like you can watch a movie like Black Swan, for example, is a movie that I can watch and be like, I don't really want to watch that again, but it was awesome. Right.
You don't have to be particularly entertained by a movie for it to be good.
Right. Yeah. And so that was this game for me. I was very much impressed with everything. I loved the depth and the amount of detail. It was awesome. But mechanically, I was just like, oh my God, that's too much.
It is mechanically dense. Yeah. I understand why people wouldn't have fun with this game. That is the kind of a common sentiment. This is a very divisive game. A lot of people hate it.
I didn't have fun very much.
Yeah. But I'm weird, man. I had a lot of fun playing this
Well,
game.
you like games like Dark Souls also.
Yeah, I did get some dark sides.
Some Dark Souls vibes.
Dark Souls vibes, yeah. Which is the ultimate, like, oh, this is the Dark Souls of this is the Dark Souls of Amazon Prime. But I really did feel that, because what I do a lot in Dark Souls is I walk in Dark Souls, in terms of like literally like the animation that I'm playing. Like I'll hold the analog stick a little bit and I'll walk through the whole game, because I really enjoy the methodical process of getting the drop on all the enemies before they aggro to you, and then picking them off one by one. And this whole game is that, but it's all designed for that.
Right.
And so I just had a total blast playing it. And that was awesome. Just totally my jam.
I can see you're doing here with the mule camp.
This is me. Yeah.
I actually never used that gun.
Really? You never used the bullet gun?
Never used it. Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
So this is interesting. You're in the camp without anyone noticing you.
Yeah, I'm stealthing it. And that guy was about to get me.
Yeah, and you're stealthing, which is great. This looks like really good gameplay.
Yeah.
Me, I go ape Sam when it comes to this. And I think it was this specific camp too. I went into there and what was it? Most of the times this is what happens. Sneak. Sam. I'm caught. Run away as fast as possible and then try it again. But usually what happens is I sneak in and somehow get caught and then just adapt right then and there and try to get the goal, whatever it was, if it was a package or whatever. There was one time I got into the camp, where I'm like in their tents and everything, walking around, and there's a guy that catches me on the other end, so I just start wailing on him and then punching everybody I can, steal one of their vehicles, hit him on the way out. And, like that was pretty much
bombastic action game.
Right. See, and like you feel like James Bond in here.
Yeah.
Where you're just like,
I was freaking out right here.
See, that's what I mean. That was me 100% of the time.
Yeah. There were a lot of moments where I was like freaking out.
Yeah, me too. That's what I mean with the tense.
Extremely tense.
Yeah.
This is a very tense game.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really interesting how it's paced, because in my experience playing the game, I was never in those extremely tense situations for more than like 5 minutes at a time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Except for, I guess the BTs would be a little longer.
BT's are longer, yeah.
But it was like short, extreme bursts of very intense gameplay.
For me, it felt like the whole game was like that.
Really?
Not like the traversal. Actually, maybe even the traversal. But
the traversal can be intense if you... Dude, there's this one time I messed up big time during traversal where I was climbing up a mountain, and I was trying to do the good thing by going through a hard path, but laying down the ladders so it'd make it easier for other people to get through, and it's a more efficient straight line to the objective. And I was on my way there, I was going up this ladder, and I was in this very precarious spot, and I ran out of ladders to continue. So I had one ladder laid down, that was a ramp up to this little ledge, and my options were to basically go back or jump off or something, but I was like, oh, I'll just take the ladder and use it again.
Oh, I don't even have it. I can't even get down. Oh God. Oh my God, what have I done?
So I went to go dismantle it, and it just fades away.
It just disappears
into non-existence. And I was like, oh,
Sam.
and I got stuck.
Nice. Nice. How did you get out of there? Do you know?
I had to jump off.
You did?
I didn't have climbing anchors. I didn't have anything.
Nice. You just jumped.
I had to jump. Yeah. So I think some people would call that bad design, and maybe it is.
I don't think that's bad design.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great.
I think because it was my fault. I got myself into that situation.
One thing, okay, well, to the bad design credit, there are some things in this game that, because it's a very, very, very dense game, it has so many things mechanically to explain also, but other than the story, we're not even in the story yet. But
yeah.
But mechanically, there's so many things that you can do that it feels like bad design if you can't understand all of them.
Right.
You know? And one of those things is dismantling objects that you've built. Usually dismantling any kind of thing that you've built with a PCC, all it does is it just fades away and bandwidth is now cleared for you to build something else. But you don't get the PCC back, you don't get the materials back, you don't get anything like that. Ladders, however, you can get them back, but not all the time. If you're not at the base of the ladder, then it just fades away.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you're at the base, then it collapses in on itself and it forms a little case.
That's probably why I was confused, because I might have done that a couple times before.
Right.
So I thought it would work the same way the other way.
I had the exact same experience. Probably not as precarious,
Sure.
but yeah.
Yeah, so it's like if I had known that was the case, I would have made a different decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
But then whose fault is it that I didn't know? Is it the game's fault? Is it my fault?
Yeah. See, well, I'm not so certain, because they do, I think, a really, really good job. Wow, that's a lot of cases.
Yeah. I was going hard.
You have like a 7-foot
Yeah.
case. That's hilarious.
I was doing something very convoluted here.
Yeah, I used this. Oh, actually, I have a cool story about the floating rack. I love how what's the word? We talk about it with emergent. I love how emergent this game is.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
There's a lot of different things you can do with, since there's so many different pieces. One of those things is I had a timed cargo thing, and I had to get from one place to another through a mule camp, and so I got there, and then it was raining on the other side, and I finally got past the mule camp, which took me some time. Went through the rain, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's still way down there, and I have so much time to go. So I built a timefall shelter, and then waited for the weather to pass. And then when the 10 minutes was up, it said you have only 10 minutes left on your route, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot. So I was like, how am I supposed to get all the way down there within this amount of time? And because I had I had a ton of luggage. I didn't have any kind of exoskeleton that was going to help me. Everything was really slow. I was like, I'm not going to make it. And I was like, I have a floating carrier. And what I did was I put all of my luggage on the carrier. And so now I'm just free to run and just attached it to myself and just ran. And I went over like a bunch of rocks and stuff, and it kept bumping the shit. But it worked, and I just loved how I could just have that idea and it just works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where it's like the mechanics of the world are so well planned out and well executed that when you have an idea using those mechanics, nothing cancels out.
Right.
Like, it works the way you would expect it to in real life.
Yeah. With that being said, like something like the trikes.
Yeah.
The trikes, like there's a lot of times that, like in Skyrim, for example, you try to get a horse up a hill.
Yeah.
And there's a point to where the horse just won't go anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But in this game, you're like, even if the trike is at like 45 degrees or more, you're just like, come on, we can do it, right? And it goes as slowly as possible, but it still goes.
Yeah.
And it follows a basic physics system. So there's no invisible walls that it's hitting.
Right.
It's just, if you're going beyond the physical limit, then it stops.
Driving in this game is really funny because it's not smooth, because you're driving on the worst terrain pretty much at all times.
Right.
Except for when you build the roads out, then it works great.
Yeah.
But like, I kind of like that the driving is not overpowered, and it's not like instantly. The theme of the game is maybe not the theme, but like the main driving force of this is traversal that is not as simple as holding an analog stick forward.
Right.
And that principle is carried out through the vehicles also.
Right.
So it's like, just because you're in a vehicle doesn't mean you can just drive over every rock,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Your vehicle can tip over and stuff.
Yeah. Your vehicle can tip over and you can get stuck on things.
Right.
You have to drive around.
Yeah. I lost 2 trikes in a river.
Yeah.
Before. I remember driving that truck, and I was on 2 wheels going down a mountain. I thought that was like the craziest thing, because in this game you don't feel like driving is a focus, like you said, because it's based on traversing, which is basically just you walking or running or climbing. So when something like that happens, where you can still drive but you're on 2 wheels and you're tilting one way or another, it's so interesting.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And then it also makes it really satisfying when you do build out a network of highway.
Right.
When you can
now you can just go.
Super easy. Yeah. And you're just it's like so much sweeter for having struggled through it before,
That's okay. So we got to talk about the difficulty curve a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
The beginning of this game. So I think with all games, you introduce them to a world, feel out the things that you're going to face, like the enemies and obstacles and stuff, put players into that situation, into like a dangerous environment, and then give them tools to overcome those obstacles later on, right? So then they feel powerful. And this game really does that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have so many things. You have hills, stamina running out, batteries running out, BTs everywhere, meals, things that you have to avoid at first, and then you get weapons to defend yourself later on. And with that, BTs, I felt like in this difficulty curve, made for like the scariest thing I've ever seen in a game.
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Show yourself. There's one. There's another. Jesus. Those are freaky, dude.
I was always scared of BTs all the way to the end.
Me too.
They were always terrifying to me.
Me too. Yeah. Even like the one part that I felt like finally I feel like I'm a little bit there. Like I can actually have control over the BTs is when you have the gold knife put into your thing.
Yeah, when you can stealth up and
cut the umbilical cords.
Cut them,
when that felt really good to do, but still getting to that point is still frightening.
Because that's in the later stage of the game. That's like 75% of the way into the game.
And they're weapons too now.
That's right. cord cutters.
Yeah,
Right.
which is pretty much the perfect time to introduce that
It
kind
is.
of a mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, and it feels really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but they give you a like the BT gives you a like after you cut it.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
It's so funny. What's great about this whole game is all the mechanics and everything you do in this game are completely harmonious with the themes and the storytelling happening in this video game.
And Kojima, I think, is like a master at that kind of stuff.
That is something he really excels at.
Yeah, interconnecting mechanics and theme.
And game, and theme. And so I was even thinking, I was like, you're not encouraged to kill anybody.
Never,
and you're almost never in a situation where it's even practical to kill somebody.
Right.
Because you have to get rid of the body, and if you don't, then you might cause a void out, which would then blow up your whole area.
Oh, I didn't even
game.
think about that.
Yeah.
Have you run into that?
I never did it. After I beat the game, I tried to engineer one, just out of curiosity.
Did you ever do that?
I didn't follow it through.
Oh.
I went in with a bazooka into a mule camp and I killed everybody.
Did you?
Yeah, I just went on a homicidal rampage. And I felt terrible doing it too.
Yeah.
Like I did not feel, it wasn't
Right,
cathartic.
it's not cathartic.
No, I thought it was like, oh, it'll be like fun, like GTA or something.
Right.
It just feels bad because BB's stress level goes through the roof and he goes all comatose and I'm like, oh, jeez. I just shouldn't have done that. That was just a bad.
So did anything happen afterwards? Or?
No, because what has to happen is it's not the body that blows up. It's the body becomes a BT.
Right.
And if there's another body around a BT, then the BT
then it annihilates.
Yeah, grabs it and it blows up. So you'd have to kill like 2 people and at different times and have the one turn into the BT and then come and get the other.
I wonder if that would work.
I think it would.
That's interesting.
I don't know. Maybe I'll try it.
Yeah.
Try and see how it works. But anyway, so you
themes you're talking about.
right. So you have this theme of connections, making connections with people, and not being isolated, and even if you're lonely, kind of reaching out to other people and forging bonds and helping one another.
Right.
And so then you have but you still have to have some kind of antagonist conflict somehow to make it interesting. And I think this game does that through traversal and obviously through mule encounters and through BTs. And BTs were interesting because they seem evil because they're like these ghostly, dark, oily things that are trying to grab
have
you.
Also a crazy sound to them too.
They're terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, and so you might think that by dispatching them and killing them, they're like in this purgatory, and then when you kill them, then they don't get to come to the living world because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to grasp back to reality. So then you're exiling them to purgatory and not making a connection with them.
Right.
But then when you find that you can cut their umbilical cord like that, then you are making connections with the enemy of the game, you know?
Yeah, and you're sending them back to where basically, so that they're not in between.
Right, where they should be naturally.
Yeah, where they go back to the seam or the beach or wherever.
Right, where they can reach a conclusion of their life. They can be whole, you know?
Right.
And you are forging a connection with them. You're helping them out in that way.
Right.
Which is really kind of beautiful.
It is, yeah. So dispatching an enemy is actually helping them.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Which is cool. But it's also cool that you're given the choice too.
Right.
It's like you don't have to do that. You can just throw blood on them and kill them.
Right.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, the first time that I killed a BT with a hematic grenade, first of all, that's incredible. I love the animation and the sound of everything. Like that's just insane.
They get coated red. And
yeah,
stuff.
they get coated red and then they float up and scream and wail.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. But when I did that, it was like you just said with the rocket launcher with all the people.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really feel good about making them
suffer.
Right? Because basically all they're doing, they never go to quote attack mode. right?
Yeah.
They kind of magnetically kind of come toward you, and then as you see with the handprints, they try to touch you, and then if you get one to touch you, then they come out of the ground and they try to grab you. But it's all about embracing. It's never about attacking or eating or killing or anything like that.
Yeah, they're reaching out to make a connection themselves.
Right.
They just want a hug.
They just want to hug.
They just happen to be very scary also.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I really like the idea that there's an enemy that's not overtly evil.
Right.
They're not, they don't take one side or the other. It's a complex story.
It's very complex. Yeah.
Cool.
It is very cool. Yeah, I can't really think of another game that has as much ludonarrative harmony as this game.
Like Kojima, he basically just makes a movie and then a game on the side, and then kind of just pushes them together. And usually that's flat out dumb in video games. Like it feels like you watch a movie and then you play to the next part so you can find out more. But that's not what Kojima is about. Kojima is about like telling both things in parallel. And that's not necessarily how I like games to be, but if I have to have a game that way, this is like the best way.
The best way to do that kind of storytelling in video games.
Right, because in Death Stranding, there's some moments in here that you're just doing story beats, right? Like when you're on the beach, when you're fighting, what's his name, Higgs, or when you're giving BB to the incinerator. Like those are just story moments that you're carrying out, and that's a direct, interaction with the story. That is something that I feel like should happen. But most of the time, you're just doing orders that happen to be in the story,
right?
And the themes, like you said, and the mechanics and everything is so harmonious that it doesn't really feel like there's any inconsistencies there. There's no ludonarrative dissonance,
right? Which is a common thing for most video games,
right?
Is to have at least a little bit,
right?
Because you never know what the player's going to do,
right? Because so like in Grand Theft Auto 4,
sure,
is a big one where they talk about you going on a rampage and killing spree, when your character is not all about that.
Yeah.
and in this game, it's kind of punished if you go on like a killing spree, right?
Absolutely is.
Or it's not really punished, but it's discouraged, and I feel like that's a really, really good design.
Yeah.
On their part.
Yeah, he's crafted a world where it's hard to do something that's inconsistent with the world.
With the world, exactly. Yeah.
What's kind of interesting about this game, compared to his other games, like MGS 1, 2, and 3, and 4, are all very, very linear. Yeah. Which is fine.
Yeah.
But it is that kind of cinematic story, watching a movie, playing a movie.
Yeah.
I noticed that the structure here for the game is like, it's like he took all the detail and time and all that he puts into crafting his worlds and his stories. He took all that time to make a very detailed world, and then he also wrote a story within that world. And the way it's like structured is you get this opening that has story beats. You learn about the world and you get the setup for the story and the characters and all that. And then at a point, that story becomes very broad, and the goal for that story becomes entwined with what you're doing, basically reconnecting America. You're going place to place, expanding the chiral network.
Right.
And that's like a large chunk where you're just playing the game. There's like very minimal cutscenes,
right,
and very minimal story progression. Like there's not a lot of plot twists or anything like that,
right,
until we get towards the end. Then it ramps up,
just like just all
insane. Yeah. So it's like he bookends a whole game with, he's like, instead of story that's like throughout,
right, it's
kind of bookended.
It is, yeah.
Which is interesting, I think.
It's a little. It's strange. It's Kojima. I feel like it's like him. It's like how I feel like it's what his games do, because I feel like Metal Gear 2 did that a lot too. Metal Gear Solid 2, where you say you talk about big chunks of story, and then followed through with a bunch of gameplay, and then a big chunk of story.
Yeah, it's like I think he's still refining that balance for himself.
Right.
Like MGS 5. is like that too, but like he in my opinion in MGS5 he did not do enough story. Like it was way too thin, and it was all gameplay, which is like the best stealth gameplay ever, but it was like I was missing that story, you know?
The big dense story that
yeah.
it is. Yeah.
And so this is that same philosophy, but he still gets a story in there that's complete and rich and deep.
I thought it was interesting that going straight into it, when you first start the game, that you're just thrown into the world basically.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know anything about timefall and BTs and how the or what you're even doing as a porter, like
or
what a porter
what
is.
the Death Stranding is.
What the Death Stranding is, yeah. Like all those things are so dense, you know, in the world, and you're just thrown in. You're just playing it, you know. And then you meet Fragile, and then you go to Port Knot City, and then the things start to introduce you bit by bit, but you're still just in the world, and you just kind of have to figure things out by yourself before you start like reading mail and interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of the world building is done in the interviews.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't feel like there's a lot of exposition in the cutscenes, but like I was surprised that there was never really the exposition cutscene that explained what the Death Stranding is, like what that event refers to. Yeah. But I did piece it together through interviews, and there was a couple of Heartman cutscenes too.
Right.
But I thought that was interesting.
They don't really explain exactly word for word.
Like the Death Stranding is this event that happened on this day where this cataclysmic thing happened. You don't get that.
You don't. You know what I like that I don't think I've ever seen in other games is that there's a thing that happens, and all of it is based in reality, and they're trying to explain the thing and failing at it because it's or very slowly succeeding at it because they're approaching it scientifically as if it's a thing they don't know about, and they're saying, well, you know, my theory is that this is what happened and this is what, like, clearly, yeah, there is something there, clearly that, you know, they made a story in the game, they know exactly what happened, but all the characters in here don't really know. Right,
yeah, because they're still trying to figure it out themselves.
Right.
It's a very mysterious thing. It's like, what would happen one day if the afterlife was 100% confirmed, no shadow of doubt, and is scientifically testable?
Right. And not only that, but you use it in everyday life.
Yeah, and it becomes entangled in everyday life.
Yeah.
And it's just thrown at you. Not everyone, scientists aren't going to understand that right away. People aren't going to understand what that is right away. They have to do science.
Right.
And figure out.
And that's kind of what this game is about, you know?
Yeah.
It's about the scientific point of view from this thing.
Like how the chiral network has side effects.
Right.
As it gets bigger.
Yeah.
Which you learn about as you're doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's actually consequences for making something on this scale.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah. The the story with the characters themselves, Deadman, Die Hardman, Clifford, and Fragile, and Higgs, they're all, as I think as classic Kojima style goes, they're very, what's the word? Melodramatic.
Very melodramatic.
You knew. You always knew.
I did and I didn't.
Yeah. And typically, it's really funny because Kojima's the only kind of creator that I can go into these kinds of things and appreciate that kind of melodrama. There's probably others too that I appreciate, but like, I'm not typically into that kind of storytelling, right? But this stuff, I think his stuff it's melodrama, but then it's a little less heavy-handed. Like he introduces all these things very slowly and then builds them up like all at once.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
He's very stylish about it too.
Yeah, stylish and mysterious, I guess.
And mysterious, yeah. I think, yeah, he is pretty mysterious in this one.
Yeah.
This whole game was built around mystery.
Yeah.
During the hype cycle, it was like, the biggest question was like, what is this game even at all? You know?
Right.
No one understood it, and and he shows pure gameplay, and people are like, I still don't, like, you just walk? What does
still
that
don't
mean?
get it, yeah.
But all the answers are pretty much there, which
are.
is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's hard to talk about just one thing without leading to another thing and another thing and another thing, because it's so detailed and intricate of a story.
It's it's super, super complex. I think there was a lot of unnecessary complexities in the story, but I kind of like that in here. Like that whole part that, I mean, again, they're not all unnecessary, but like that whole part where you're with Hartman and he is showing you basically what his findings and everything, and his whole explanation about living 21 minutes at a time. Like, you could have probably taken that all out and it still would have been fine. Like he did talk about the extinction and the EEs. Yeah. You know, that was a big part of that whole thing. But the explanation of his backstory and the reason why he lives 21 minutes and his connection with beaches and why his beach is different than other people's beaches. Yeah. It's a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's like, what's interesting about that could have been left out because it doesn't really directly tie with, and there's no payoff to it either. No, but it's rich. But it's very rich, right? And it's like, I'd rather it that way than not. Right. I'd rather see that character. Right. Yeah. And it's like all the interviews in here, I tried to read every single interview. Yeah. Up until like started finishing the game because I had to go to sleep. But yeah, the interviews are fascinating. Yes, you know, they are. And even the mail that you get from the different people are fascinating. Yeah, there's like little story arcs in the emails. In the mail, like with what's her name, the chiral artist. Yeah. When you deliver her to her long lost husband. Yeah. And then, or not, a long lost boyfriend, and then they get married. They get married. And then they send you emails saying that I hate married life. Yeah, and they like split up. And they split up. Like, oh, how sad. It is sad. But that's so funny. Like, not like hilarious, but like it's interesting. It's really cool that that's the way that little plot line went. Right. And the way that's told to you through email afterwards. Yeah, like, it's told through email. Yeah, this thing I went through. He's like, man, married life sucks. Right. It's really cool because like usually pieces of mail or something like that, like things that you pick up and you read about the lore, right? Flavor text. Yeah, flavor text. Usually those things don't have a whole lot to do with the context that you read them in. But what's cool with the Death Stranding email here is that they're directly connected to the characters that you interact with. And so you go to like a porter's place, or not a porter's place, but like a shelter. You go to a shelter somewhere, do an errand for them, and then read an email about that errand or about what you did for them later on. And then if there's anything else that you need, like the doctor, for example, he needed you to get something for him, and then he had an interaction with the mountaineer, and they both sent you emails about things that were going on with the patient that they were taking care of, the mountaineer's wife. And that was really interesting to me because like I'm now getting context as to why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm like, oh shit, I got to get there fast because she's gonna die any second now. You know, and without reading the email, it would have been nothing. I would have been like, oh, I got to get there in 5 minutes. Right. Better hurry. Yeah. What do you think of the ending? Which one? All of them. All of the endings. Like, man, it's freaking crazy. Like, it's nuts. It's just insane. Yeah. So the first ending comes around episode 7, the Higgs episode, when he has the giant. Right. Yeah, the huge BT with Amelie. Right. So that feels like the end. I thought that was the final boss. Yeah. Like it feels like a final boss, and it's the end of all things. Yeah. Right. And that was an amazing battle, by the way. I ran out of supplies during that battle. I did too. So it was very stressful. Me too. Yeah. Yeah. Give me blood bags and I'm just waiting for people to show up and throw stuff at me. Yeah. I love that mechanic. That's such an interesting thing. Yeah. This is also interesting. Regarding boss fights, I feel like this game could have been really, really, really hard. And I felt like it kind of was really tough, but really still accessible. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was such an interesting balance where you can feel like that boss that we're talking about. You can run out of supplies, get really stressed out, but there's still hope because there's other people giving you items. Yeah. And so you're sitting there, you know, on the edge of your stamina, your blood's running out and stuff, and people are throwing you blood bags and, you know, other things. It's cool that you still stand a chance, and there's no sense of hopelessness, and that, oh fuck, gotta do this boss again.
Yeah, where it's like, well, I might as well just kill myself.
Might as well,
to start over again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was never that point.
Yeah.
Ever.
Also, what's interesting is that still ties into the theme.
It does,
of
yeah.
Connections, where you're having actual players.
Right. They're actually
you
throwing you stuff.
gear, yeah.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole online aspect of this is really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's Dark Souls. It's the Dark Souls system.
It's a Dark Souls tech,
Yeah.
but with like different
but
ways.
used in a kind of a different purpose.
Yeah.
Probably
really,
a more
really
focused purpose.
A more interesting purpose to mine.
Yeah, I kind of
Thinking too.
yeah, it's definitely like, it's integral to the art of the game.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
which is really interesting.
Yeah.
So this game ends by getting to Edgenot City, fighting the biggest BT ever, defeating it. Higgs then just runs away.
Yeah, he takes
Amelie
to the beach,
to-
to
yeah.
his beach, right?
Correct. Yeah, I
And
believe
then-
so.
And then you follow him by getting Fragile to help you to transport to the beach.
Correct. Yeah, but in order to do that, you have to cross the entire continent.
Right, you have to go back to the east.
Yeah.
Right.
You go through the whole continent again, and you get there. Then you learn that if you go back, it's do or die, basically.
Right, you might be stuck there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, and then you fight Higgs. Dude, that boss battle is incredible.
That was the coolest thing ever.
That's like one of the, I just love that
The
boss
second
battle.
Higgs boss, yeah, that was so fun.
Just a good old-fashioned boss fight. Stick versus rope. Gun versus strand.
So you're doing, he said it was rope versus gun.
Yeah, it's the
Really cool.
the absolute reductionist
Yeah.
essence of the theme of the whole game
Yeah,
is instilled in that boss fight,
absolutely.
which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And it's also amazing how, I love how cheeky Kojima is sometimes.
Yeah.
Where he's like, it's like strand versus gun, and then he's all the references to boss fights and game overs and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I like how Higgs just talks to you just as he's breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, it's like he knows, and he knows you know.
Right.
And so it's
And he's just playing around.
yeah, so he's just stating it, which is really great.
You know what was cool in the beach there? Did you notice all the destroyed cargo everywhere?
I don't remember.
So there's cargo littered everywhere, but it's all destroyed. You can't use it.
Oh, right, yeah.
But there are things like PlayStation systems there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is awesome.
That's funny. Yeah, so in this boss fight, the way it works is he has a gun, and you have a rope.
A rope, yeah.
And you have to sneak around, get behind him, and basically choke him out.
Yeah.
And all without getting shot at.
Right.
And-
Or grenade thrown or pinged by his radar.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Yeah, and then it gets a little bit more intense towards the second phase when he
Right.
starts using a knife instead.
Right. So our different gameplay styles, right? So you were sneaking around the whole time during this boss fight.
Yeah.
I went straight for him every single
Yeah.
time, just ran toward him.
Were you punching him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like went over there, punch, and then tried to tie him up. And it didn't work at first, and I died, I think, 3 times or so. But and I did realize that sneaking up was probably the better plan. But he kept transporting. I was like, I'm not going to wait around for this. So I would always go up to him right when he reloaded. So he would shoot, and then as soon as he's like, Sam, we can't do this forever, right? And he'd start reloading. Every time he would do that, I'd go to him and start
Get him
up. Yeah, and I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my favorite part of the game happens right after that, which is
This was only ever gonna end one way. So come on!
it just turns into a different game
Yeah.
entirely.
It becomes a fighter.
A fighter. It's just awesome. You even have stamina bars in your health bar.
Yeah.
Like a regular fighter.
Yeah, it
love
becomes a
that.
full-on fighter.
Yeah.
Dude, and on top of that too, what's also amazing about that moment,
Yeah.
which is a motif in Kojima games, where one of the final bosses in his games is is you versus antagonist in a fighter setup.
Yeah.
Which is how Metal Gear Solid 1 ends with
That's
you
right.
versus Liquid.
I forgot
where you
about
even
that.
have the health bars and everything.
Right.
So like he's done that. That's what he does.
Yep.
And it's no exception here.
Right.
So when that popped up, I thought that was hilarious. One, that he
loved
was
it.
doing that. And I did love it too. But also the context in which it happens is you're both exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's very sad piano music
Right.
playing.
Right.
And you're just both exhausted.
Yeah.
So it's just like this.
Right. I loved that so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not a go get 'em, fast thing. It's just you're button mashing, but you have to.
Yeah, it's
know?
like excruciating.
Yeah.
And it's like just slowly snuffing out
Right.
each other, which is really brutal.
Yeah. So that was another ending.
Yeah, that's so far that's actually 3 boss fights
3 boss fights so far.
so far.
And then what I thought had always happened, or what was going to happen, finally did, where it's showing that, or information comes to light that Amelie isn't who she says she is.
Correct.
And I always
Jeez,
thought,
that's crazy.
yeah, I always thought it was some sort of evil thing from the beginning, but it's never actually an evil thing, and she is mixed up with Higgs, but not the way you think.
Not at all the way you think.
Yeah.
With Amelie?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So
Because Amelie gives Higgs' power, correct?
right.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to piece together, but the EE, the extension entity of Amelie/Bridget, is a thing, or that
It's an abstract concept.
it's a concept.
Yeah.
Do you understand, Sam? Amelie and Bridget, those are just names. What I am is an extinction entity.
That-
Embodied in a character.
Right. So it's embodied in one character whose Ha and Ka were separated, meaning their soul exists on the beach while their body exists on the earth.
Correct.
But the body and soul are 2 different people in this aspect, and one of them is Amelie, the other one is Bridget. And
Bridget being the physical body, Amelie being the spirit,
they're in the spirit.
who exists on the beach.
Right, and so because that's separated, well, and this is everything she explains at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But because they separated, Amelie decided to show herself as Bridget's daughter, but would only appear as a projection to other people, and no one's actually seen the real her. So you got, so you were just in Higgs's speech.
Beat him.
Fragile
Takes him
guns
off screen.
Right. Then we go to Amelie's beach, where Amelie says, "Stay here for a second" for some odd reason, and then runs off.
After we get that absolutely ludicrous cutscene of them running on the beach. in
That was
slow motion.
hilarious.
That is kind of hilarious.
I didn't know if that felt genuine.
It did feel genuine. I don't know what the hell's going on.
That was
there.
weird.
Kojima does step over that line every now and again.
That's so strange.
That was very strange. Anyway.
so they run along the beach. She says, "Stay here. I'm gonna go."
Sam.
And then she doesn't come back, and you go over there to find out that Bridget is still alive somehow. But it's
Because this is before the whole reveal happens that they're the same person.
right. So you
So
see
you
Bridget,
see Bridget there, and you're like, how is that possible?
but it's
She's
actually
dead.
Amelie
Right.
as Bridget. Anyway.
Well, because time works different on the beach. You
Right.
can see things that happened at different time periods, and so I think that's what's going on here.
So
You're seeing Bridget.
the past
You're seeing a
thing?
past event.
well, somehow
I don't know. Maybe that's not even right.
somehow
Got to
Cliff-
read a Wikipedia.
Somehow Clifford appears on the beach and looks at Die Hardman, who's threatening Amelie
Yeah.
as Bridget. And when Clifford comes up, he sees you and notices that you have the
He
BB.
still wants a BB.
And so he goes to try to get you, and that's where you end up fighting him and this is Vietnam. This is
Correct.
the modern warfare kind of thing.
Yeah, relatively modern.
Right. The most
The
modern
most
one.
modern. It's Vietnam.
Yeah.
So you know when that is. I hope you know when Vietnam happened.
So you go to fight him, and then it's revealed later on that Wait.
It's revealed. So at the end of that battle,
Yeah.
at the end of your third encounter with Cliff
Yeah.
in the Vietnam War section, Cliff learns or makes the realization after he gets that encounter with Sam that the BB he was after all along was not the BB that Sam was carrying with him,
Right.
but was Sam himself.
Right. Which we don't know.
Which we don't know at that moment.
At that moment.
That's not when that moment is revealed.
Right.
But
it's revealed to him.
But Cliff realizes it.
Right.
And so you get this very strange scene where Cliff like embraces Sam.
Yeah.
They told me your name was Sam Porter. But you were Sam Bridges. My bridge to the future.
Cliff hugs him,
Yeah.
and says, "They said you were Sam Porter, but you're Sam Bridges."
Yeah. Yeah, and so so in this case, the privileged position goes to Cliff.
Right.
Cliff gets the privileged position.
He does, yeah.
Instead of the audience, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah. It's very interesting there because it comes back on itself later.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So then after that,
You get to the end of the first map, and then you get to your
Right.
Vietnam section, and then after the Vietnam section, you're put back into the first map, which was
Right.
like Tutorial Island, basically. And so you go through there, and then you have your fifth final boss,
with the whale flying monster,
huge BT whale.
That was
flying.
the weirdest thing in the game to
Yeah.
me.
Probably the weakest boss fight.
It was the weakest, and it was so strange to me because so you get to Port Knot City, and just before you enter, then that BT shows up, and it just shows up just as if it's just there,
Yeah,
like just waiting for you.
Just hops in.
Pops up,
Yeah.
and not controlled by anybody. It's just there.
Yeah.
The BT comes out. It's that big flying whale, scary looking thing, and you shoot like grenades at it or assault rifles, anything that you have that's hematic. Shoot it at it, and its health bar goes
Yeah.
like
Very little.
the tiniest bit, and so I was so angry. I'm like, I've just been 20 minutes just shooting this thing and making sure it doesn't hit me, and just like that. That was probably the weakest boss fight ever.
Quadruple rocket launcher.
That was the coolest weapon
Yeah.
ever. The rocket launcher.
That's all I used. I just waited until one popped up.
Until someone gave you one.
Yeah, and I just used it. Made it
I used
faster.
every weapon possible.
Yeah. But it definitely was pretty mindless
It was very mindless. That's
for
what I
a
didn't
game
like
that's
about
very mindful.
it. Right, right. So that's what made me angry about it.
Yeah, probably the weakest
Yeah.
boss. Maybe one of the weakest parts of the game, actually.
So the next part, I had spoiled for me a little bit. I was looking up a little thing in Google. I never looked up anything for this game, which I was actually surprised that I didn't have to. But there was one part. Oh, I was trying to figure out how to retrieve a ladder. So I was like, I typed in Death Stranding. How do I? And then it auto completed. Shoot Amelie. And I'm like, what?
Oh no.
What are you talking about? And so so that's when it spoiled for me. And so I was like going through the game. I'm like, okay, I knew Amelie was probably some part evil
Bad
at some
somehow,
time.
yeah.
And then when I fought Higgs during that giant thing, I was like, oh, maybe this is what they were talking about. Shoot Amelie over there.
Yeah.
And so it was taken aback a little bit, but then
As soon as it popped up.
as soon as this
you're
scene
like,
happened,
oh.
then I was like, that's. So I already knew what was coming.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So what happens is after the whale, which is the actual final boss, pretty much.
Yeah.
The 5 final bosses. And then you go in and you learn you have to go into Amelie's beach to stop the extinction entity from happening.
And you have to, now you know she's the EE.
You know she's the EE, so she is causing a mass extinction
On purpose.
on purpose.
Right.
That is her entire reason for existing.
For existing,
Yeah.
right. It's to bring about extinction.
Yeah. And then you learn that you can go in and it's, I think what the conundrum is, you can't come back.
Right.
What was it exactly? It was
It was
kill her. you
Yeah,
can't
it
come
was
back.
if you stop Amelie with the extinction, then you won't be able to come back.
Right.
But if you do, then everyone's extinct.
Right.
So it's a lose-lose.
Yeah. So it's either sacrifice yourself for the greater good, basically.
Right.
And so you go in knowing that,
Yeah.
and then you're on the beach.
And it says find Amelie is the
objective.
goal. Yeah. And it just presents you with a beach.
Yeah, and so you start running around.
And you just run around.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And you find her and you go through this dialogue, and it's really intense.
It's really intense.
Yeah, very emotional.
Yeah.
So, knowing what you know now, you have two choices.
That's getting shot, one of them.
You wouldn't come back if it happened here, you know. You'd be straight on to the afterlife.
Her point of view was extinction is absolutely
it's a good thing.
Inevitable.
Right. It's inevitable, and she didn't want to have a slow burn.
Right.
To come up, so she wanted to say, if I can bring it about faster, then that's what I should do.
Right.
And it wasn't like, as she was explaining it, it felt more empathetic. That you're just like, I guess you're right.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, extinction should be soon, I guess.
Especially from her point of view too,
Right.
where on the beach time is so different.
Right.
Where to her, hundreds of thousands of years that you're gaining from delaying it is nothing.
Is nothing. Right.
So it's like, why even bother delaying it?
Right.
So makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. You're given a scene to where you try to shoot Amelie.
Right. So yeah. So you get this position. It's kill Amelie and delay the inevitable, or let her.
Or let
just
her cause
do
the
it.
Extinction.
Right.
Yeah. So what happened to you during this part?
I freaked out.
Yeah.
I lost it. I was losing my mind. I was like crying and freaking out.
What'd you do?
I unloaded on her.
Yeah.
That was my gut instinct. So I was like, nah.
Yeah.
I just shot her as many times as I could, and it doesn't do anything. And I ran out of ammo, and so then I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do, and she kept walking, and then I lost.
You lost?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Meaning she got to the point where the extinction entity happens, and it like engulfs everything, and I got a game over screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So did you have to play that part again? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. And then I tried shooting her again.
Okay.
And then I was running around, and then I saw the prompt where it said hug.
Okay.
And I was like, aw.
So because I had that part like spoiled for me a little bit, I shot once, and it just disappeared, and then I shot again just to make sure that's what happened. I'm like, okay, so I can't shoot her, and I just put the gun away. I'm like, I wonder what else I can do, and I ran in front of her, and she pushed him aside. Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
But then it said hug, and I'm like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. So it was like super quick for me.
That's cool.
So you do stop Amelie from doing the extinction, and because of that, you get stuck on her beach. So then the whole next sequence is awesome.
Oh my gosh, is it amazing. It's so what Amelie decides to do, she severs her beach from everybody else's beach.
Right.
So she is just off into the universe.
Yeah.
Isolated.
And you're stuck.
And you're stuck.
Yeah.
On the beach.
And you
for
can't,
all eternity.
For eternity. Yeah.
And so what the game has you do is nothing.
Nothing.
You're just running around this empty beach while credits roll.
Credits roll, right. I thought that was the most amazing thing, and I thought that was the ending.
I did too. It even cuts to Death Stranding
it does,
logo,
yeah.
and I was like, holy, that's a crazy way to end the game.
Right. And that would have been a really cool way. And then so after the credits roll, or as the credits roll, then she appears again on the beach. Yeah, so when Sam's taking a break, then she comes back and basically just tells him everything.
Yeah.
Like the whole Ha and Ka separation.
Right, that's when you learn, the true nature between Bridget and Amelie.
It's crazy that you don't even like there's so much mystery in the game up until like the last 10%.
Right.
And then everything is like slowly revealed.
Yeah, it's just like a huge dump
Right.
of mystery revelations and
Right.
plot twists, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get end credits rolling over. This is probably like a 25-minute sequence where you're just running around.
You're just running.
Yeah, while credits are going.
And you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah, you can do anything.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And you learn all this stuff about the spiritual side of it all and all that. And then you slowly start hearing words and these people calling out to you.
Yeah.
And
that was the coolest thing.
It is the coolest thing.
They're saying, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam, over here, Sam.
Yeah.
I think I see him. and you're just like, what? And like you're trying to look for these people, and they're not there, obviously. They're calling to you from the reality.
Other side, yeah. And they manifest themselves as BTs, not as BTs, but like the handprints, and the oil starts coming up.
So they're BTs, but from the other side.
Yeah, it's the opposite side of it, you know. And so this thing that you've been scared of the whole game.
Holy crap, no.
That
is now your friend.
Is now something you want to go into.
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Because that oil thing happens when they want to grab you and pull you into the void.
Right.
But yeah, this time you're trying to follow it.
Yeah.
And you're like, where's it coming from?
Yeah. And they pull you through.
Yeah.
And you make it. And apparently it had been months.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
That they were trying to find him.
Yeah.
So it probably felt like years for Sam.
For Sam, yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and during that whole time, Sam's like black and white, right?
Yeah, Sam is black and white.
Yeah, that was so interesting.
It's really cool.
Yeah, so then you're pulled through, and then the Clifford story unraveled.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Which is insane.
But that is the last boss fight, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
There's basically from that point on, after you get saved, it's like an hour and 15 minutes of cutscenes. Where you watch an awesome episode of Death Stranding.
Right, and there's a
the best season finale of Death Stranding.
And then there's the strand that you link to yourself as the baby, right? Because you're controlling, because you know when you die and you're a repatriate, so you're connecting your strand back to your soul. You're connecting the strand back to the BB's soul at this point in a memory, and that's the craziest cutscene. Is when you connect back to the BB, and then we play out the whole memory that we've been seeing bits and pieces of, but now we see the whole thing. Yeah. And then it plays out to the very end, where Sam is actually in the memory now, physically, which we think he's just imagining this because he shows up as a projection. Because people are running through him and stuff. And then Mads' character, Clifford, talks to you, which is cool.
It's so cool. Awesome. It's so great, dude.
You told me your name was Sam Porter. But you're Sam Bridges. My son. My bridge to the future.
It is so great. It's so beautiful. I just love
awesome.
it. Yeah. Because you get to see what happened. You get to see Cliff and all that, and you get to see how Die Hard Man. Yeah. His character becomes incredibly tragic.
Way more tragic. Yeah.
And pitiful in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because Cliff and them were war buddies, and Cliff was his commander, and saved his life a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And Dead Man,
Die Hard
Man tries to free Sam, who is Sam in the BB capsule in the pod, and tries to help Cliff rescue his son, but fails in the process. And what happens is Bridget orders Die Hard Man to shoot Cliff.
But then
because Cliff had taken Sam out of his pod.
Right. But then Bridget goes to control the gun
because he's hesitating.
Right. And so she pulls the trigger and shoots the BB.
Yeah, shoots also Sam and Cliff.
Right.
So Cliff is dying, and Sam is
dead.
Is actually dead. Yeah.
So the fetus, or I guess not a fetus, but but the newborn dies on the floor.
Yeah.
Being shot, which is a crazy, just image.
Yeah.
Just a bleeding, dying,
dead fetus
newborn
on
baby.
the ground. You're just looking at that and it's like, geez.
Yeah. And because he's a repatriate, then goes into the beach, which then connects back to Amelie.
Yeah, where Amelie resurrects him.
Right, and then the whole story ties together.
Yeah, that's an insane tie.
Yeah.
And that adds so much context between these characters. Like the dynamics between these characters are insane.
Right.
Where you have Cliff, who is your father the whole time. Yeah. He's just trying to be with his son.
Right.
And then you have Bridget and Die Hard Man, who Bridget becomes your surrogate mother, but only because she shot you and accidentally killed you.
Right.
And Die Hard Man, who you're working for the whole game, killed your dad.
Yep.
And you're working for these people the whole time.
And you're working with them the whole time. Yeah.
And then you get that. Probably, maybe my favorite cutscene is after Die Hard Man is president, and he like collapses to his knees crying.
That was
to
insane.
Sam.
Yeah.
Because
that was a really cool performance from that actor.
Amazing performance.
Yeah.
Because that's the first time the dynamics switched so dramatically, where he's this authoritative figure the whole game who's telling you exactly what to do.
And he just breaks down.
Yeah, he breaks down, and these two characters both understand exactly what they've done to each other.
Right. Right.
That's insane.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Melodrama to the max there.
It is melodrama. Yeah, it's very dramatic. Yeah. And then your BB is a girl.
At the very end.
And Timefall isn't real anymore.
So I did tear up at one point.
So did I.
Well, what point was it for you?
The end, basically.
With Lou?
Yeah, taking
him to the incinerator.
Taking Lou to the incinerator.
So that was pretty hard.
Yeah.
And there was one part that got me a little bit where he put his cufflink on the incinerator. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool little twist there. But then puts Lou down also after looking at him for a while. He's like,
I gotta do it. Yeah,
I'm gonna do it. And I'm just like, oh no, okay, so it's not a twist.
Yeah.
And then he grabs it at the very last second, and I'm like, oh, it is a twist. And then pulling him out of the pod, or her out of the pod, and then tries to basically rub it. What do you call that?
CPR.
Not
resuscitate.
He tries to resuscitate basically a dead fetus, which is it's the first time you see Sam show any kind of emotion throughout the whole thing, and that was a pretty tough scene.
It is very emotional.
Come on, Lou. Wake up.
Yeah, where he's just this lifeless baby that's laying in his arm. He's like, come on, dude, wake up.
Yeah, because everyone Sam has made a connection with, who's been important in his life, has been revealed to be deceiving him in very deep, fundamental ways.
Yeah.
And so him having a relationship, and also because Sam's backstory is that his family, his pregnant wife died in a void out that he survived.
Right.
He was the only survivor, and his whole family was wiped out in it.
Right.
And so he calls Lou, who is the name of his unborn son who died in that accident. So there's so much emotion to that.
Yeah.
Where
a lot of it.
Where you have all that in your head as you're carrying. Not only do you have all that character context in your head, but you also have the context of going 50 hours through the whole game, building a very personal bond with this BB.
With the BB,
yourself as a player.
Yeah.
And then the final mission is to just casually walk to the incinerator because he's not really dead, but he's inactive.
And there's no obstacle at all. It's a beautiful day.
It's very beautiful. There's very beautiful music playing, but having all that weight and having gone through the whole game and knowing all of that context makes it so potent. Very, very sad. And you're like, oh, every step you're dreading.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I really liked it a lot.
And he doesn't do it, which is good.
And he doesn't, right?
Yeah, and you feel so, it's just like Sam is finally doing what he needs to do. It's like, yes, he should take off the cuffs and go AWOL and go rogue and raise a daughter.
Right. I don't really like the way they left Fragile.
Oh yeah.
Because I thought she and Sam had such a great bond, and Sam basically just said, "Fuck off."
Yeah, she's like, no,
Yeah.
not gonna join you.
Yeah. which I understood what he was talking about, but I was like, yeah, that hurt.
Yeah, yeah, that is a little sad.
Okay, we talked about the story.
Holy crap, did we talk about the story?
That was a big story.
That was a big story.
We need to talk about some other things.
Okay.
Let's get back to the game.
Right, the game. There's a game here.
There's a game in it.
It's crazy because the story is so deep, but the gameplay is honestly just as deep in a lot of ways. So
Yeah.
it's like, geez. So how does this game work?
How's it work?
Yeah, like what is this game? Like what do you
do?
Yeah, what do you do
It's
in Death Stranding?
It's so different than any other game.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about this, how it's focused on traversing rather than getting to the goal.
Right.
Like in other games, you hold up, and this one you have to hold R1, L1, make sure that you're not.
You have to
walking
keep your
on a
balance.
slope, keep your balance.
Yeah.
Keep your speed.
And when you can scan their surrounding environment, and the terrain has icons, different kinds of terrain has different icons. If there's any bit of a slope, you can see exactly how much of a slope it is, and that little difference changes how Sam walks across the world.
And the icons represent what kind of material it is sometimes too. So like if you have muddy ground, that slows Sam down a whole lot rather than like dirt or rocks.
Yeah, and you can scan and see if something is like a bunch of yellow on the ground when you scan, then you know it's going to be a little harder to walk up that, which means basically just means you have to keep your balance and you have to be more cautious of where you step.
Being cautious, yeah.
Because if you're not paying attention to where you're going and you're not using the left and right trigger to balance yourself, you'll fall over and all of your stuff will go everywhere.
And it just falls off.
Yeah, and you get a really bad rating on your delivery. That's basically death in this game, is falling over.
It's falling over,
Because not only is the terrain something you have to be conscious of, but how you carry your
cargo, right? Yeah, you
also,
can't just stack it on.
Yeah, if you stack it on, your balance is completely off and you become heavier.
Right.
So if you have a ton of stuff on your back, you'll move slower and it'll be easier for you to fall over. If you have all your stuff loaded to the left side, you'll be constantly leaning to the left.
To one side,
so you have to counterbalance that.
Yeah.
So you have to balance it all correctly, which there's a button for.
And you got to make sure that like if your grenades aren't kept in, say, like a grenade pouch.
Yeah.
If instead you're carrying them on your back or attached to your suit, that the container is going to get damaged if it comes in contact with timefall, and then the grenades will degrade if if the container wastes away.
Yeah, and unlike other games where you have infinite inventory space and you can somehow carry a whole arsenal in your back pocket, every single item you have with you physically exists in the world and you have to physically carry it with you.
Every single one.
Yeah, so you're making a lot of very strategic decisions on what you're going to bring with you.
Right.
Because you have to make the decision, am I going to heavy my load with a bunch of stuff that's going to help me along the way and make it hard to move?
Right.
Or am I going to try and travel as light as possible? Or
and hope you don't run into trouble.
Yeah. Right. So it's all about trying to find the balance of packing light and making sure you have what you need for the journey.
Yeah, see, that stuff is super engaging, like just by default, but man, does that just stress me out.
Yeah.
It feels like there's so much responsibility on me, and there is.
A ton of responsibility, yeah.
I've when you're talking about the terrain, I've talked about before, but I've lost bikes in the water before because I didn't scan first. But there was this time that's really cool when I got to the shore. So I scanned, and there was this part that there was like very deep water, but there was like one little part that was just enough for me to squeeze in. And so I did that, I just drove the trike right through that little part, and I made it.
And it worked.
Yeah. It was really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Falling off of a mountain, or not falling off, but sliding.
Going downhill?
Yeah, when you're going uphill and then you start sliding and you go backwards, and then he falls and slips, and trying to grip, that is like one of the scariest things in here. And it's crazy because like in other games, you don't have that. You don't have
that's not even a factor.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about that.
Right. And it's terror in here. You're just like, no, I'm gonna lose everything.
Yeah, because it really is. It's very, very punishing when you fall over. That's probably the most punishing aspect of the whole game, really is, because when you fall over, not only is it pretty easy to fall over, when you do fall over, all of your cargo goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And it all takes a ton of damage, and you get a much lower rating when you finally deliver it, unless you repair it.
Right. And if you fail, then you have to redo that.
Yeah, and if you fail altogether, then you have to redo the whole delivery.
Yeah. You know when you're carrying those, what is it? The bombs, antimatter bombs, where you can't have any shaking.
Yeah, and it beeps and stuff.
Did you ever blow one up? So I did.
Yeah.
I was going across the mountain through some BT area. I'm like, all right. Oh, you know what? I need to build something real quick. I set down the thing and it just rolled. It just went and it just blew up.
Gotta be careful.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I think a lot of people like this. Let me rephrase this. This game is, you cannot take this game fast. Like, you can't rush through it. You have to be very conscious of where you're going. And if you try to play this game like Skyrim or Breath of the Wild in terms of traversal, like, you're gonna fall over all the time, just constantly.
Yeah, and see, that's one of the things. Like, that's what draws me to games is not doing methodical movement and stuff. I love doing like Legend of Zelda, where I just fly over here and jump over here and then sword attack. And I'm good. And so with that amount, I think it's because I get overly, what's the word? Anal about it, I guess. When I have so much responsibility, I have to make sure everything's perfect. So when I'm doing stuff like traversal, I'm concentrating, making sure that my boots aren't wearing down, making sure that my time fall's not doing this, making sure that I'm, keeping balance, and then I'm going at the right time and staying out of meal territory and BT territory and all those things. So it's too much in my mind.
Yeah, and that's not to say that Breath of the Wild is or any other way of
different game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this game, is it is it's a very genuine attempt at making a game that fundamentally plays different than most games do.
And we talked about this before, about how the game it's focused on helping, rather than what's the word? Attacking, I guess. Yeah, it like the easiest thing to code is to create something that the player then has to annihilate, because it's easy that way. The bit is here and now it's gone. Right. And so it's easy to do that with like early video games. You saw Galaga and
Pac-Man.
Asteroids, Pac-Man. It's really easy to annihilate other things, and so that grew in with the state of games as they became more and more processor intensive and graphically enhanced and everything. Now it's about battling, now it's about shooting and stuff like that, and it's still based on that annihilation aspect.
Yeah, there's almost always combat to video games.
Exactly. And so it's really cool. Yeah, it's really
Death Stranding has combat too.
But it does have combat, but
it's deliberately not the focus.
Right.
And it is actively not encouraged.
Right.
But yeah, that is true. It's very easy, and it's very much an established thing. It's pretty much what you do is to make a mechanics game system out of combat, out of shooting. It's very easy to make shooting very fun.
Yeah.
It's very easy to make.
Well,
or at least
it's very easy to make it engaging.
It's easy to make it engaging. Yeah. It's very easy to make it engaging, and because it's been done so many times, it's been refined and refined.
Right.
And
you can just play off of rules.
Exactly. Yeah. There's so much established.
Right.
Form to it.
Right. And so that's why I want to call this game like a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Because it has so much engagement and something that's brand new, something I've never seen before.
It's something totally new. It's making it's literally, people will call it walking simulator, which in a lot of ways it is.
It is a walking simulator.
But it makes walking genuinely as engaging as shooting people in any FPS game.
Right. Yeah. You're so many things that you're making sure to take care of.
Yeah.
The shooting that they do have in this game, I think, is amazing.
It is great shooting, ironically.
I was really surprised by how good it was.
Yeah.
Anytime that you see a game that focuses on one aspect rather than another, then something like walking simulators, for example, they tell a story first and then everything else is kind of tagged on to the sides. This one, I would imagine that walking would be the thing, the traversal climbing and stuff would be the focus, and then shooting and driving would be just kind of tagged on. But they're really detailed.
Yeah, they're extremely well done. MGS5 is to thank
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, that game has amazing gunplay. And it's literally like, it feels like copy paste almost.
Does it?
From that game, yeah, which is really interesting. Which is a good thing,
Yeah.
because it's like, he nailed it.
Yeah.
So
it feels really good.
yeah, it does feel really good. Yeah. Then there's also the gameplay of the social strand system, which is what it's called, the online component.
Oh, yeah.
The Dark Souls take, the evolution on the Dark Souls online
Right, which is
formula.
so neat. It's
So neat. Yeah, it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You're basically, the way it works is like, you're able to build a ladder, and then you leave that ladder, and someone else who's playing the game might see the ladder that you built and be able to use it.
Right.
And so you can almost like ghostly interact with other people's worlds.
Yeah.
And it's designed for you to help people
Right.
specifically.
Specifically to help.
There are no negative ways to impact somebody else's game.
Right.
Only positive ways.
Right.
Which just hammers home that theme even more.
Which is super cool. Yeah.
Very cool.
They have signs that you can put down to make sure to flag other people down, make sure, don't go here, there's BTs, or
Right.
or there's mules, warning,
Yeah.
That is really cool. That's saved me so many times. When I see the signs where timefall would be, like before you get the weather station up and running, people would put down signs that there's BTs over here. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I want to make sure to avoid that area.
Before you can predict the weather.
Before, yeah,
Yeah, you can see.
because you can predict the weather later. And then like seeing like bridges and building roads and stuff that's just super helpful. I've come across like several times where I just go, or I'm going toward a place and I don't have any of my like climbing anchors, and I see that someone made a chain of climbing anchors. I'm like, dude, perfect.
Yeah,
That's what I need right now.
Yeah.
And it's neat because they interweave this system, the strand system, with likes, with what they call likes, and I really like that crossover because
It's blatantly social media.
right, because
Yeah.
it's blatantly social media. Yeah, they even intertwine it in the story.
Yeah.
And like having likes in the game is like it's like oxytocin is what they called it, an anti-stress chemical.
Oh, interesting.
In one of the interviews or one of the emails or something like that, they called the likes likesin.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. So if somebody like people in the game will give you thumbs up like this.
Yeah.
Just in the cinematic, and then it goes to your likes and it goes up.
Yeah, your like meter goes
Yeah.
up.
You mean die with them?
And supposedly it makes your character feel good. It's an anti-stress thing. And I thought it was really funny that they pointed that out about battling stress, kind of like, because this game is really stressful.
Yeah.
So the likes actually do get you through it.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh man, thankfully that's so nice that everyone liked my time shelter or liked my
Yeah.
over here.
It is cool. I became kind of obsessed at a point with building things.
Yeah.
Like especially in the snow section.
Right.
And so I spent a few hours intricately making a zip line route through the whole area to every key point of interest, so I didn't have to traverse through any of it.
Yeah.
So at any point, I did this almost immediately when I got there too. So most of that section was a breeze for me because I was just zip lining everywhere, which was awesome.
That's great.
But I left it up for everybody else too. So everybody else who gets to connect to my world has the ease of instantly having this whole
traversal
network of zip lines that I got to mastermind and build. And it was so satisfying to finish that little project that I decided to do, log off. And then when I logged back in, just a whole chain of likes of people liking your structure.
Yeah.
It's really satisfying. It is. And it is what they're talking about, that likes-in or whatever, like does happen to you.
It does.
And it motivates you to do more. It feels good to help people.
And I thought that was, it's cool because social media is seen as like a toxic thing almost in today's society, when people are spending so much time in social media and hooked on the idea that you have this dopamine kick every time that someone else likes your stuff. And what's nice is that they're using that kind of dynamic here to help other people.
As a force for positivity.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, how can I get more likes? Well, I'm gonna help others more,
Yeah.
Maybe if I deliver this person's lost cargo across the continent that they lost, during some time, then I'll get more likes.
Yeah.
Which you will, and you're helping them.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It makes you feel great for being selfless.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
or for
kind of
being
amazing.
selfish.
Or being selfish. Yeah.
You can be selfish and selfless at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for me, but you're helping others.
Yeah, that is true. That's like psychology.
Right. It's really cool.
That is
I
really,
like that.
that's deep. I love it. Yeah.
Love.
So I love that whole system.
Yeah.
And it definitely makes you feel like you're not alone
Right.
through the whole journey.
Yeah. Well, this game has a heavy theme on isolation and reconnection. And that is really interesting. And even to the point, like we talked about, where the enemies in the game or the bad guys, so the people who work against you, are still seen as empathetic people. And you even like they even joke at the end.
Yeah.
Like after they both lay down, they're like, well, looks like you win, right?
You're getting a little touchy-feely there, Mr. Phasmophobia. Well, congratulations. You won the game.
Yeah, it's not like glorified or anything like that.
It's not. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. Yeah. This game has a sense of humor to it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of great.
Yeah.
It on the surface it seems like a game that takes itself very seriously, and it does take itself seriously, but it absolutely has humor in it.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of levity. And you first see Heartman, you first go to his office, and your first encounter with him is so good. It's so good.
It's great. Yeah.
You have the cutscene, and then you learn about him, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna die now, I'm gonna pass out, and he passes out, and then you get to look around his room for 3 minutes, and you see all this cool stuff, and you get likes for checking out his room.
Yeah, I thought that was so fun.
Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, and the cutscene continues, and then at the very end, he dies, and on your way out, there's a record player.
What?
Sam goes.
Yeah, Sam runs in and just
And
record scratches.
And you get down.
Yeah, and Heartman
dislikes.
gives you negative 20 likes. I just thought that was hilarious.
That was great. Yeah, that was great.
That's such a funny choice to make. Like just to throw that in just for fun. To me, that shows like there's like a certain level of confidence behind a choice like that.
Absolutely.
Because that's so silly.
Right.
It's so absolutely silly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And he's confident enough to put something that silly in the game and have it not interfere with the seriousness of it also.
Right.
Which is
Yeah,
really
it's
funny.
not like a super self-aware joke. It's just that's silly.
It's just purely silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I think
That's a lot
great.
of fun. I think up until now, I've always had the idea of a fun game or a game that I have fun with in some aspect of it be the thing that draws me to the game, right? The Witness comes to mind, where it's a game that's super deep, super complex, and it's actually very surface level, but it gets really complex. And it gets to a point to where it's just purely frustration and there's no fun to be had. But I love the game so much. But even to that point, I still love interacting with that world. Same with Inside and Limbo. Those are games that they're not particularly fun mechanically, but they're simple, and therefore I have fun with the game. This game is different, where I'm super stressed out every time that I play it. But I appreciate so much of it, and it's so interesting, and I think it's cool that I've been able to separate those two.
Yeah.
That it's not the mechanically fun stuff that draws me into a game. It's the appreciation of the detail and the story and the design finesse, all that stuff.
Yeah,
And the aesthetic.
Yeah, a game that is, pushing the boundaries of video games.
Yeah.
And pushing video games forward as a medium.
Yeah.
saying like, what else can we do with this form? What else can we do within this media?
Yeah.
That isn't just shooting. That isn't just
Right.
all this other stuff we've done a ton of times.
Exactly.
You know, pushing that forward, pushing the envelope.
Yeah. So it's really nice to see someone like with Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen. And
Yeah.
all these big actors.
Yeah, really big actors.
Yeah. And
Doing
just-
amazing performances.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah, this is a game that I believe should be celebrated. And I gotta be honest, it makes me feel a little bad that it's pretty mixed reception.
Yeah.
I understand that people don't like it. Not everyone likes it. I understand that because it is a very challenging game. And when I say challenging, I don't necessarily mean difficult. I mean,
It's daunting.
yeah, like it's challenging what is fun in a
What-
video game,
right.
what can be engaging in a video game, you know?
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that I love. Like I love innovation and I love pressing forward. I like pushing the envelope within
Yeah.
any medium.
Yeah.
And seeing a video game on this scale be executed with such a clear vision
Yeah.
and with such a very earnest and, in my opinion, mostly successful attempt at pushing the boundaries of what video games can do as an art form is awesome. And I think that should definitely be something that's should be celebrated.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree.
It's a big win.
Big win.
Big win for me. Probably a top 5 video game of all time for me personally.
Stevie likes.
Like? Yeah, so we need more games like that. We need more games like this that are pushing the boundaries. And there are that in indie games.
Indie games are always that way.
Yeah, they're always that way.
Yeah.
But it's a breath of fresh air seeing a game that has
AAA title.
just
Yeah.
millions of dollars put into it.
Yeah.
To make something.
That has something like rocking a baby with your controller.
Yeah, that is genuinely an experimental video game.
Right.
Like a very experimental video game
Yeah.
on this kind of scale. I don't think that's ever been done actually
Yeah, not that I know of.
on that scale.
On that scale.
specifically.
Right. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, looking forward to whatever Kojima does next.
Me too.
Probably a horror game, what it sounds like. PT is coming back. Silent Hills is coming back.
This stressed me the f out. I don't want.
A horror game? Yeah,
Horror
a
game.
full-on horror game. I'm gonna play it, but it will be absolutely terrifying. PT, I didn't even play PT, but I watched it.
I
and
watched it.
scared
It's
me.
terrifying. Yeah, me too. Nuts.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for watching.
Cold coffee.
Yeah, the coffee's cold now. This discussion went on too long.